is happening, mediocre people of YouTube? And I'm just holding on to you guys right now because I'm gonna put the camera up on the dash here in a minute because I gotta take a ride into the city today, gonna check on a property and looking at a wrecking job that I may potentially get involved in. We'll see. So as you guys know, all kinds of things are happening, political wise and all that kind of stuff. But there's been a lot of talk again about the federal government getting involved in raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. To that I say, why not 20? Why not 25? Why not 30? Why not 35? Why not 40? Why not 45? Because I'm just giving it back to them as they're giving it to us. $15 an hour is a number somebody pulled out of their hat. And believe me, I will get behind and support a $15 minimum wage. I will be one of your biggest supporters of the $15 minimum wage federally the day that you can show me, or the day that the people who are 1,000 times smarter than myself, talking about the people who study not just the U.S. economy, but they study the global economy, talking about the people who set the minimum wage based on what the economy can bear. And as you guys know, that also varies from state to state. So to pass a $15 minimum wage federally across the board seems really silly. But what's even retarded is that, $15 an hour is a number somebody pulled out of their head. It's not based on what an economy can bear, not a state economy or you can't really, in the United States, we don't have just like one economy. As everybody knows, if you're old enough to have been to different states, wages vary all over, I'm a union guy, and we used to have, or we still do have, what they call the prevailing wage on some jobs. And what that means in a lot of cases is that whoever the highest paid trade is on the job, like you got demo guys like myself, you've got laborers, operators, electricians, pipe fitters, all that shit. Whoever the highest paid trade on the job is what you get paid. Everybody gets paid the highest number on a lot of the prevailing wage jobs. Now that can also go the other way. I've been to places like Florida, which is a right-to-work state, the same way Michigan is right now. And I went there and I worked on union jobs. There are union jobs, even though, these states are not known for unions and everything. There are union jobs in every state. But it's very different. It's very, very different than Michigan. When you get down south into Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, you see what they have a lot of temporary agencies people work for, and they fucking work for minimum wage, and then they hope to get hired on with a company. But here's the thing: we're starting to get close to the city now, so I'm going to put you guys up so you guys can see the city a little bit here. Here's the thing about a minimum wage job. A fucking minimum wage job is not meant to be a fucking career. It never has. A minimum wage job is a job that you take when I need a fucking job. What kind of job? Any fucking job for any type of pay. You know, that's a minimum wage job. A lot of times it's when people are first starting out in life. You know, when you're 16 years old and you go and you're like, I want to get a job. Well, anywhere, you know, car wash. Minimum wage. Minimum wage was never, you know, meant to fucking carry you through a fucking career. Now, there are companies out there like Kroger where you can get a minimum wage job and stay there. And what these companies do, if you're a good worker and you've got something to offer, they will bump your wages up over time. Okay? But the way I see a lot of young people, you know, they're like, well, you know, I could make it on $15 an hour. You know, I can't make it on minimum wage. Well, you know, again, minimum wage was not made to carry a fucking lifestyle for you. It's made for you to start out. Which brings me to another point I wanted to bring up is status. And the illusion of status to people. And be careful what you wish for. In this country, the fact is, if you work hard, you'll get ahead. You don't get to just snap your fingers and be the boss. And when I was young, man, I wanted to snap my fingers and be the boss, you know? When I got into the demolition business, first off, I was fortunate because the owner of a very prominent demolition company here in Detroit lived right across the street from me. I'm not going to mention any names, but this man I used to go over there when I was like 10 years old and pull the weeds in his gardens and flower beds and shit like that. And he used to pay me $5 an hour, which was more than minimum wage at the time. So when I actually went and got a job, my first job, and got minimum wage, I was actually making less than I was used to. And he was very, very generous with his money. He's a very generous, very caring man. And I miss him, and I appreciate him. And it's somebody I'll always hold dear in my heart. He's since passed away. Anyway, when I was working minimum wage jobs, I was always a good worker, so it wasn't long after I would get a job and I would get a bump in pay. And there were several jobs that I was happy with, you know. I mean, I was making more than minimum wage, not that much more than minimum wage, but at the time, you know, but it was hard. You know, I mean, on that wage, it was tough. If you wanted to like get an apartment, and I mean that was like they say, it wasn't move out of your parents' house kind of money, you know. But I can remember having jobs where I was making decent money and saying to myself, man, if I could just double my income, I would be all right. Well, I joined the laborers union. And that's exactly what happened. When I started in the laborers union, which was 1994, I think, maybe a little earlier. Anyway, when I started in the laborers union, I believe the wage was $18.90 an hour, which was excellent money. You know, especially from a kid. It was exactly double what I was making at my old job. So, and for a kid that was 18 years old, let me put it to you this way: I made $90,000 my first year in the wrecking business. I had so much money I didn't know what to do with it. But then, you know, your lifestyle changes and you want more, and I remember my first job, first real job in the wrecking business. I was a laborer working on a concrete crusher. It does exactly what it says it does. It crushes concrete into what some of you guys might know the terms 21AA and 21A, 6-inch and under, 3-inch and under concrete, crushed concrete. So my job was I stood there next to the belt. It would come out of the crusher, crushed concrete, and little bits and pieces. Now, you got to understand, this was coming from a building we demolished. So there was pieces of carpet and shit in it. So my job was to pull the garbage out of it. You know, pieces of re-rod, wood, whatever. There was also several magnets on this machine. So the magnets would pick up most of the re-rod and shit. But it didn't matter. But I put my heart and soul into it, you know, and they were really happy with me. They're like, holy shit, dude, nobody's made a fucking pile of garbage that big yet, you know, like all the guys I hired. Well, you know, from time to time the machine would go down, and I'm like, okay, and I was like, my boss, like, what do we got to do? And he's like, oh, we got a hole in the belt, we got to fix the belt. So I would just follow him over. I learned how to do that shit. And long story short, within 3 months, you know, I was basically maintaining the concrete crusher, because another long story short, my boss got hurt first on the job, and then he ended up getting hurt when he was supposed to be recovering from the injury he got on the job. So anyway, the long short of it is that he had to take some time off, and he's like, Mike, give me a ride home tonight? I'm like, yeah, sure. Why? He goes, well, here's the deal. He goes, I'm going to leave my service truck. He had a service truck with all his tools, compressors, everything you need. He goes, I'm going to leave my service truck here so that, you know, you can take care of the crusher while I'm off. So, you know, that was within 3 or 4 months of working on that crusher. But I used to see, what we used to have when I got into the business was in the very beginning of the shear. And what I'm talking about is a hydraulic shear that goes on the end of an excavator and cuts through steel, iron beams. We're going to jump off here. Let's see if my buddy's home real quick. So when I was like 13, 14 years old, the guy I was telling you about that lived across the street used to take me to the job sites, and I used to see what they used to call, they still do, but it's not as big as it used to be. It used to be these big, what they call burn yards. And basically, it was all the iron from the job. They'd throw it in a fucking pile, and then you had burners. These are the guys that ran torches, okay? Wait a minute, this is Chicago. Yeah, no, this is right, West Chicago. Wait a minute, I get off the wrong exit here. There's Livernois, West Chicago. Wait a minute, this looks different. Anyway, so the guys would cut steel. Well, it's really fucking cool looking, you know. You got sparks fucking shooting 50 feet across the yard and shit. And you know, to be a burner was, you know, kind of a status, you know, that you would have. And now I'm on the wrong street here. I should have jumped off. We'll flip around here. What is this? American? Yeah, alright. We'll fly down here. Turn around. I don't know. Some of these guys might not be cool rolling a fucking camera through here, but anyway, we'll see. I kind of know this neighborhood. Not really, though. And that's the way it is in Detroit. You gotta fucking carry yourself, and, you know, being a white boy in this neighborhood, you better fucking know somebody, you know. Anyway, so I wanted to be a burner, man. I want to learn how to run a torch, you know, and cut iron, you know, status. Fucking, because everybody was always talking about, yeah, dude, he's a good burner. Well, once I got into the wrecking business, and on that same job where I was, you know, on that concrete crusher, there was a couple of burners out there, which these are guys that call high burners, and they work in, you know, they're up in the air most of the time in man baskets. course, at that time, again, you know, a lot of the companies weren't really using man lifts if they didn't have to. And this is at the tail end of that kind of stuff. Now you'll never see anybody going up high without a man lift. Now, and that was another way I made my name, because I was one of the last guys to climb buildings the way I did. So anyway, on that same job, I had an opportunity to work with the high burners, James and Jones, two real fucking cool dudes who I still know very well till this day. And these guys were good burners. We had to fucking set up a walkway that was going over a parking lot. You know, so, you know, you're talking about, you know, 180,000 pound crane picks. So, you know, you got to set it up, you got to cut it with a torch, you got to pick it out of there with a crane. And so, man, I thought I was cool. You know, I didn't even know how to fucking run a torch. You know, I mean, I knew how to run a torch in a burn yard, but I had no fucking clue what I was doing up in the air. But I wanted to learn so desperately because I wanted that status, you know. And once I, you know, got that status, it wasn't, you know, be careful what you wish for. And James told me that, because yeah, man, I want to do, you know, I want to learn how to do what you do. He goes, you sure? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, because I'm going to tell you right now, motherfucker. Let me tell you something, motherfucker. In the words of James Johnson. Let me tell you something. You get good with this torch, you ain't ever going to get that motherfucker out of your hand. And he was right. You know, eventually, a long story short, and I really should do these memoirs better and tell the long stories someday. You know, eventually I became a high burner, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm the best high burner in the state of Michigan. Best white high burner in the state of Michigan. And I'm not being racial here, it's just life. You ask the black guys, you know, who's the best burner in the state of Michigan, they're going to tell you, you know, it's going to be a black dude. And when they say, okay, well, who's the best white burner in the state of Michigan? They'll tell you me. A lot of them will, because I was a bad motherfucker, man. I learned from another old black dude named Brandywine. He taught me how to set up big, heavy buildings. And I'm talking about climbing these buildings, you know. I'm not, yeah, you know, we had a man lift and shit. The companies I worked for, you know, they were big outfits, so they could afford to get a man lift and shit like that. So yeah, we have man lifts, but there's still times where you got to climb them buildings. And you know, and I knew how to do that because of Brandywine. Brandywine's the one that really taught me about climbing buildings safely and setting them up. And you know, you get this status, and it works out for you. It works to your advantage. It works against you too. Because sometimes you don't feel like fucking, you know what I mean? Sometimes you wake up in the morning, you don't feel like fucking going up in the air with a fucking torch and everything else. It also takes a toll on the body. What is this? Ivanhoe. Okay, cool. You know, it takes a toll on the body and everything else, but it also affords you opportunities because, you know, a lot of times the boss will send some burners into a building to set a building up, and they'll have it all fucked up. And then they call me, or a guy like me, and they say, hey, man, come out here and fix this building. And, you know, and you walk into it and you go, man, this is fucked up, dude. And that's when they say, yeah, but, you know, I know you can fix it. And, well, yeah, I can fix it, but it's... And then you embellish things, and you say, it's fucking dangerous now, though, dude. And then, you know, eventually you work your way around to, all right, what's it going to cost? So it affords you opportunities to say, okay, you know, I'll go up there and get this building down for you, but it's going to be $1,000 a day, you know, whatever hourly that is. And I always did it hourly because I always wanted my union benefits. There, we just passed Allendale, so we can go down to Seabolt. Yeah, we go down Seabolt. Wait a minute, Seabolt the one way? No, that's cool. We'll go down Seabolt. So I always did my deals like that. I said, you know, I want $1,000 a day, and you know, however many hours that is, because I wanted it. You got to understand that shit pads your pension. Every overtime hour, every double time hour, you know, I wasn't $1,000 a day. Yeah, it was great, but the bigger picture is, you know, that was all going into my pension fund. You know, and you're getting double into your pension. You're getting time and a half into your pension. But again, now you got that status, and this is, who you are and everything. Well, there's also a time where it's like, oh, I wanted to be the boss, I want to run my own job. Well, that time came, and I had the opportunity to run my own job, and I excelled at that. I did real well. And then the time came. That's not. No. Then the time came where I wanted to have my own thing, my own company, and the time came, and I did that too. But what I'm saying is, status is really just an illusion, and I learned that early on, even before I became the boss. It was around the time I became a high burner, and I had that status to me, that I realized that, status is really just an illusion. Because when it comes down to it, you got to be happy, man. You know what I mean? You got to be happy in what you're doing. And I was happy in what I was doing, but, there were other things I wanted to achieve, and I was happy doing those things too. But there's some people that, no matter what status they reach, it's just not good enough. Howard doesn't look like he's home, so we're not going to stop there. Maybe I'll stop on the way back and see him. We're in Detroit, if you didn't realize that already. We're in the city now, on the west side of Detroit. Some people, they get that status shit in their brain, and no matter what happens, what they do, or how well they do, it's just not enough for them. And in the meantime, they're not happy in what they're doing. You hear them, complaining about their job. You hear these people bitching about their job because no matter what status they reach, it's not good enough for them. They just want more and more. They want something more. So, when it comes to careers and, a job, you've got to do something that you're going to be happy doing, Like they say, if, you'll never work a day in your life as long as you're happy. And there's a lot of truth to that, because if you're happy in what you're doing, the money will come. I have a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, he delivered flowers his entire career, his entire life. He's 66 now, and he's retired now, and he's fortunate to be retired because, no, he didn't make bags and bags of money, but the money he made, he was extremely smart with it. So, he took care of his money, and he took care of himself, so that, when he reached, when he was like 55, actually, he owned his own flower store for a little while, and got out of that too. And he said the same thing everybody does. Here's the rub, you're never going to make the kind of money that you want to make unless you're never going to make that kind of money working for the other guy. You've got to open a business. You live in the United States of America, man. You open a fucking business. That's what you do in this country. And when you open a business, there's just so many things that come along with it. If that's, then there's people that, there's a lot of people, we need worker bees too. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that, they'd rather not. They just rather be a worker. They don't have any inspiration to open a business and have a business of their own. Let me tell you something about owning a business. It's a lot of fucking work. When I was doing work on my own, I had a partner, but I was working 19 hours a day. And yeah, I made more money, a lot more money doing that than I did working for somebody else. On the other hand, when I went back to work for somebody else, I was just like, holy shit. All I got to do is show up for 10 hours and then I just get to go home and shut it off. There was none of that, when I was doing my own thing, it was like, you're laying in bed at midnight trying to fall asleep and you're thinking, oh, let me just go write this proposal real quick. And then the next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and it's almost time to go again. So, what I'm getting at is, when I started off talking about minimum wage and whatnot, and all that, but the deal is, you don't just get to turn 18 years old, get a job, and have a full-blown career where you're making money that you can just go and get whatever you want. You can go buy a house now and go buy a Lamborghini now, and it doesn't work that way, man. In this country, you are guaranteed success, just about. I mean, you got to understand on the other side of that, and this is why business owners and whatnot, when you get a conservative into office, they want to deregulate things. Because the flip side of what I just said is that there's so much fucking regulation out there that when you're owning a business, it almost fucking works against you. It does work against you. It's like, oh, wait a minute, do you have this? Oh, wait a minute, you got it. Just when you think you're getting somewhere owning a business, somebody comes along and says, oh, wait, you don't have this permit. You don't have this. You don't have, did the state sign off on this? And then you hear some jackass talking about, oh, we need to redistribute the wealth in this country. And it's like, what the fuck are you even talking about when you say shit like that? It's kind of like this. Imagine you work your entire fucking life and you become a multi-millionaire. And then some 20-year-old kid says, well, you got too much, man. You need to give that to the people who don't have it. It's like, well, let me tell you something. If you don't have it, get off your ass and fucking do what you want to do and get it. Because in this country, you're fucking set up to do that. Like I said, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, and there's a lot of regulation and everything else that comes with it. But, in this country, you're almost guaranteed success. Whether you own your own business or whether you decide to go to work for whoever, you're set up for success. I'm going to turn around here. I don't want to fuck around downtown. We're on Verner right now, and this is the building you see ahead of us is the train station in Detroit, which is now being renovated after decades of just sitting here doing nothing, because they built this train station, once again, city of Detroit, lagging behind the rest of the country. They built this train station right about the time planes became popular. So this train station never was completed. It was a beautiful building when they finished it and everything, but it was never completed. It is now being completed. Ooh, and it looks like they need some fucking wrecking to happen over there still. Damn. That's interesting. Anyway, there you go. I'm already looking, hey, there's a way to make money right there. I see a whole fucking building that needs to come down. I can go out and get it, right now. I'm supposed to be looking at another building, which I will get to. But yeah, you hear these kids and you hear the current administration, President Biden and his administration, and they're telling you things that, that are just not gonna fucking happen to begin with, which is what the liberal Democrats usually do anyway. So it's not like it's a big significant change. They say a lot of things, but what they say and what they do are two different things. Just like the Republicans, there's believe me, I'm not going to take anything away from the Republicans. They do a whole lot of that too, but I lean conservative. I don't lean Republican. I lean conservative. I'm a true conservationist. But what I'm talking about is this administration likes to wildly put these phrases of the redistribution of wealth out there and everything else. I mean, if you believe that this administration is going to do some wild redistribution of wealth, you are sorely misinformed, because this administration is wealthier than the last administration. And believe me, they are going to protect their friends in the end, because without their friends and their donors, they don't reach the status they want to reach. Just like President Biden has wanted to be president all this time. Now he's got the status. Well, now he's got to live with it, and it's a lot that I can't even imagine. Being the president of the United States has got to be probably the most thankless job in the world, because you're never going to do anything. You can't please everyone, that's in any business. But not only can't you please everybody, everybody's against you. Of course, nowadays, if you're a liberal and a Democrat, at least the media is on your side these days. Which, I don't know. I think the media's been leftist liberal for a long time, but there definitely is a major change to that nowadays. But anyway, yeah, that's just I just wanted to get that off my chest. And I know there's some things I overlooked and I missed, and you guys can talk about it in the comment section and all that good stuff. Be nice to each other. I was watching Blue Collar Logic's channel today, and they got some good videos over there. I like that channel. But yeah, be careful what you wish for, and whatever you're gonna do for a living, don't expect anybody to give you anything. Don't expect that, because I'm telling you right now, no one is going to give you shit. No one's going to just turn the keys over to you. You're going to have to fight for it. And once you have it, you're going to have to fight to keep it. All right, mediocre people of YouTube, I'll see you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this video. I got to go check on some shit, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.